Hi, my name is Mike and I'm a systems engineer here at AGI. Today I'm going to talk to you about bookmarking times in your STK scenario. Let's first tackle the question why. Navigating your scenario can quickly become a challenge as you build up complexity and duration of your model. This is especially true for when you choose to collaborate or share your work with others. Having quick reference points at key times in your scenario can make demoing your scenario that much easier for you and your viewer to follow along. Instead of fumbling around trying to find that specific moment in time using the animation toolbar, wouldn't you rather just jump to that predetermined time with a simple mouse click? There are two approaches to accomplishing just that. The first one involves using the timeline view at the bottom of your STK window, and the second uses the stored views in your STK 3D graphics window. Let's dive into STK. I have open right now a scenario called Where is the International Space Station? It's one of our basic tutorials that can be found on our online page. The purpose of this scenario is to quickly show modeling the International Space Station in our 3D environment and show lines of access to where you can see it from your viewpoint at my house. I'm going to use this scenario today to showcase how to bookmark times using both methods that I previously described. First, let's take a look at our timeline view at the bottom of the page. You'll notice that I already have computed the access windows from when this International Space Station can be viewed from my house. Let's say, for example, you didn't have this access timeline view here, and you wanted to drop a bar in here to say, when's the first time I can see the ISS from my house? How would you go about doing that? Well, you come down to the timeline view and select the Add Time Components in the lower left-hand corner. When you click that, you'll be given an option of where you want to add the time component. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to associate it with the higher level scenario, where is the ISS. To add a custom time interval, come over to this button here called Create New Time Instant. Select that. Let's change our type to a fixed epoch. And then let's give that a name. So we'll call that First View. And then let's go ahead and manually enter the time of when the first view happens. And click OK. From there, we'll highlight that new component we just created, select OK, and you'll notice now a new timeline view has been added in which there's a bar here on the first view. So in order to quickly get to that, simply right-click that bar and click Select Animation Time here. Let me shrink my timeline view here so I could blow up these access windows and you can see them more clearly. By doing that, you'll see the first axis. You can see there the cyan color line indicating we have access from the ISS to my house. So quickly there you see, just recapping, we added a quick bar to the timeline view to bookmark when the first axis occurred. This is especially helpful if we weren't displaying the access window intervals. I'm leaving those up here today just for reference so we can see exactly where those guys are at. Okay, going into our second option that we have using the stored views in the 3D graphics window, I'll showcase what that looks like. Okay, so looking at our stored views, this feature is really neat because it goes beyond the timeline view and something that will not only give you a bookmark in time, but it'll give you a bookmark in a view standpoint. So it makes your scenario look even better when it comes to demonstrating. The way you access the stored views are you right-click the down arrow here next to the eyeball on the far right, and you click the stored views window. The stored views window will pop up. The default stored view will show the home view, which we're all used to seeing by just clicking the eyeball with the house associated with it. The home view shows a zoomed out view of the Earth in a reference that will be the same in every STK scenario that you ever open and or use. Now, in order to add a stored view, simply align your 3D window in the orientation and time that you want to see and click New. So let's go do that now. What I'm going to do is align my 3D window to the second access point that the ISS has with my home. I also want to show that view from the ISS. So as I manipulate my scenario here to find just that perfect moment, you'll see some of the legwork that goes into this that I don't want to have to repeat going forward, and that highlights the benefit of the stored view. So let's play it out here. I'll use the animation toolbar, and boom, there's the stored view that I'm looking for. Exactly that. The ISS is in my field of view, and so is my house, and you can see the axis line. So let's go ahead and add new. Click new for the stored view, and let's give that a name. We'll call that second pass, and click OK. So when you do that, you'll notice now that when you select the drop-down arrow next to the stored views eyeball icon, you'll see there's a second pass view in there. And if you were to click that, it'll snap exactly to this view. So we can demonstrate that pretty simply and very quickly. Go to the home view, and we'll take it to our zoomed out view of Earth, and we'll go back to the stored view and hit second pass. And you'll notice now my window my 3D graphics window has come right back to that original point. We can further demonstrate that by showing how it matches up to that time and space yet again by restarting and resetting my whole scenario and then coming right back into the stored view and selecting second pass. And you'll see now I've aligned at the same timestamp. Okay, now the benefit is if you use these stored views, you'll more than likely have more than one. One of the ways to manipulate them and look at them is what you've seen me do so far, by selecting them in this drop-down arrow. But another cool hidden feature that isn't a standard on our toolbar when you load STK, you can add a couple of features to be able to cycle through these stored views. To do that, simply come to the drop-down arrow on your toolbar options, go to Add and Remove Buttons, go to 3D Graphics, and come down here to Previous Stored View and Next Stored View, and enable both of those. When you do that, you'll see some additional eyeballs pop up here in your 3D Graphics toolbar. Those are going to come in handy when we add more views. Right now, we just have the one custom view I've added. So let's go ahead and add another stored view. This time, let's show you from the perspective of my house. Okay, so taking a look from our first axis, you'll see the ISS off in the distance, and we're on the rooftop of the White House taking a look. So let's go ahead and add a stored view at this time and angle to the ISS. So remember, to do that, we come to our stored view eyeball, hit the drop down arrow, click stored view, and add new. I'm going to give this guy a name, and we'll call this first pass, and select OK. Now, you'll notice that when we add stored views to our scenario, they don't appear in the timeline view. So it's up to you whether or not you want to continue showcasing the timeline view. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and close it so you could take a look at my 3D graphics window in full screen. And this really just leverages the benefit of using the stored views so that you can have more real estate for your 3D graphics window. So let's go ahead and start from our home view and reset our scenario, because I want to show you what it looks like with a couple of simple mouse clicks. So starting off at the initial starting condition of our scenario and our home view, I'll now click the next stored view icon, which should take us to the vantage point of my house looking directly at the ISS during the first pass. And you'll see it does just that. And we could rotate that around to a little bit more to get a better angle. Now, if you click it again, if you recall, our next stored view is of the second pass from the ISS to my house. And when I click that, I get just that. And I'll let that animation time play so we can watch that. And the benefit of these icons is you can quickly manipulate back and forth. So let's say you want to go back to our previous stored view. Boom, we're back to my house looking at the ISS. This feature, as you can imagine, when you have a very complicated scenario with a lot of moving parts, is very helpful and useful for navigating your scenario as you continue to click forward to different vantage points, to different objects throughout your environment. So what we saw today was leveraging two different methods to bookmarking times in STK. When picking between the two different options to bookmark times, remember the stored views always takes into account your orientation, versus the timeline view just takes into account the times. As always, please reach out if you have any questions to support@agi.com. We have engineers standing by to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for watching.